Hi, my name is Stephanie, welcome back to my channel. As you probably know, I studied the MSt in Modern Languages at the University of Oxford, and today I will be giving you more detail about that course and also about the MPhil, because the first year of the MPhil essentially is the entire MSt, but I'll get more into that later on in the video. So in essence, the MPhil consists of 2 years and the MSt is only a 1 year or 9-month program, if you want to call it that way. So the course is divided up in 3 terms, like the entirety of Oxford. The first one, Michaelmas, the second one, Hilary, and the third one is Trinity. And your course will be divided up in those 3 bits. Those 3 bits are each 8 weeks. However, for master students, they're kind of more 10 weeks instead of 8. I'll get into that later. So in both Michaelmas and Hilary term, you will do a special subject that is kind of your core subject that you pick. So let's say you're doing French like I did, then you will pick 2 special subjects and you can pick out of a variety of French ones. They have early modern ones, there is medieval stuff you can pick from, and there is plenty of more modern stuff if you're more into that. So for those special subjects, you pick one for Michaelmas and one for Hilary, and they can be totally different. So let's say you're studying 2 languages, then one of those 2 will be in a different language. So let's say you're doing French and Italian, one will be the French one and one will be the Italian one. Furthermore, you will have a method option, which is also a course that you will do in both Michaelmas and Hilary, but that's a more general course, and there are, I believe, only 4 options that you can choose from, and you will share that specific method option with other people who are studying different languages from you. So in essence, they're a bit more general, and it's a larger course stretched out of both Michaelmas and Hilary term. The third term is Trinity, and if you're an MSt student, you will be working on your dissertation. You're supposed to finish the entire thing in Trinity term. However, if you're an MPhil, this is where it's going to differ for you. You will work on a personal project. You can pick your own subject and you can kind of propose that to your professor and you can work on that. So it's kind of more of a self-teaching moment, and by the end of it you will hand in a portfolio. So for the MSTs, you're done after Trinity, you've finished your entire degree and you can celebrate. However, if you are on the MPhil program, you will have another year of Oxford, which is also lovely, but in your second year you will only be working on your dissertation. You can, if you want to, do some of the special subject courses, but they will not count towards your final degree mark. You are allowed to sit in the seminars if you wish to do that, but mainly if you're doing the MPhil, it will just be your dissertation for the second year. So now let's go back into the special subjects and go back into Michaelmas term. So for my first term, I picked 1 special subject like everybody else did, and the structure of that was different than I was used to at prior other unis. So essentially you have 8 weeks in your term, and those 8 weeks are the weeks that you will receive teaching. So in Nord week, which is Freshers week, in Michaelmas term, we had more of a, not quite a planning session, but an information session where modern languages people from the department were explaining the entire degree to us, and it was a lot of information that we got that day. And that was also the time around which I received an email from my 2 professors that were teaching my special subjects to ask me whether or not I wanted to give a presentation and when I wanted to do that, which was also a lot of info. I must also add that around the very end of August, I received my reading list for this special subject. So in the second week of Michaelmas term, I had my proper first seminar, and I had another one in 3rd week, then another one in 5th week, and another one in 6th week. So your special subject consists out of 4 taught seminars. Mine were planned on Wednesday, and if I chose to write an essay, I had to hand that in on Friday. So you're not writing weekly essays, if that makes sense. You're writing 2 essays in total, and you can pick which one of the weeks you want to write an essay about. But that leaves another 2 seminars. So now you're wondering, what are you going to do for those seminars? Well, for one of those you will give a presentation, and the other one you will have nothing to do apart from obviously do your reading and prepare for the seminar, because they're more discussion based. So it's very helpful to go into the seminar with a bunch of ideas and having properly looked at the material so that you can form an opinion about it, and that you have some ideas that you potentially want to put in your essay. You can kind of test them to see if they're making any sense or not. And you can ask any questions that you want. You can ask your peers, you can ask your professor. So it's actually a very helpful meeting to kind of see whether or not your essay is actually going somewhere. So in terms of preparation for those seminars, those 4 seminars, for each of them I had to read about 3 novels, which is not too bad. So it's in total 12 novels that we read within 6 weeks, which is quite a lot, but you get your reading list prior to the term starting. reading, so I would highly recommend just start reading as soon as you can, because it will take off a lot of pressure, and just take good notes. Also, the essays that you write, you can propose your own topic to write on, or you can pick one of the essay questions that you will get on your reading list. So if you get your reading list, you'll know the essay question, so you can kind of figure it out, if that makes sense. And also try to think strategically which week you want to present, because normally you're not really supposed to present and write on the same topic. So it's a good thing to kind of get a head start on the reading, get a feel for the subject, get a feel for the topics, get a feel for the essay questions, and kind of decide from there which weeks you want to present or write. You can also ask if you can hand in one larger essay instead of two, but that's something you need to figure out with your professor. So after those 6 weeks, you still have some time to perfect your essays. So you hand in 2 essays, or one large one if you really wanted to and got permission from your professor to do that, and you get them back with feedback on it, and you're supposed to implement the feedback on one of them or both and hand submit that as part of your portfolio in 10 weeks. So after 6 weeks, you're gonna get those back, you're gonna work on them, you're gonna sit down, and essentially you have another couple of weeks to just really work on it and to perfect those 2 essays, or the one that you made larger, and then you hand those in by 10th week. So my second special subject that I had in Hillary was very similar to this one. Again, 8 weeks, we had 4 seminars, and we had a planning session prior in North Week where we divided up the weeks again for who wants to do a presentation when. My seminars took place in 2nd week, 3rd week, and 5th week. They were kind of less spaced out, if that makes sense, because in my other seminar sessions I had 1 week off, which is probably because my professor probably had something to do. But yeah, after 5th week, again, we handed in 2 essays. This special subject was a little bit less structured, while the previous one, we always had to submit an essay by Friday after the Wednesday that we had class, if that makes sense. This one was more kind of relaxed, and we had to submit 2 essays by 7th week. So it probably will depend on your professor on how they specifically want to structure the course. Still, for the second one, I had to read 2 to 3 novels as well. And if I got 2 really big novels, they were just asking us to just read 2 of those and not 3. I think in general, it's about 700 pages a week. And again, also for this special subject, we got an outline with all of the books on it prior to the term starting. So we did have some time to actually start reading before actual seminar started, kind of get a head start, which is really helpful. Would highly recommend doing that. And after I handed in my 2 essays with the essay questions that was in the handout, essentially, I got my feedback, and again, I worked on my feedback and resubmitted my essays later on in 10th week. So my special subject structure was very similar. The one big different one that we actually had was the method option. Again, it's more general, so it had a slightly different setup. So the one I took was Key Questions in Critical Thought. I really enjoyed it. It was more about the theory aspect of literature, which I thought was really interesting. Kind of every 2 weeks or every week we went into a new theory and had materials on that to read. These were more like secondary reading material, so we would get 3 articles to read and to prepare for each seminar. So that was way less reading than the special subject. So the special subject really are the core of your course, while the method option is more of a general thing where you will be in with more people. So the special subjects in general, I think there would be like somewhere between 4 to 8 students in a special subject, depending on how popular it is. I apparently took the more popular ones because I had 8 people in my first one and 7 people in my second one, which is actually a lot for Oxford. But you will have a lot more people in your method option, because you will share those with people who are studying German or Russian or any other language. So for Key Questions in Critical Thought, my method option, I had weekly lectures. For me, those were online because of COVID, but I suppose they will be back in person if COVID's all gone and we're all back to normal. I must say that some of those lectures were certainly more interesting than others, and also some professors did really put in more effort than others, which is totally fine. You come across a lot of different styles of teaching because every week or every 2 weeks you will change topics, so you get a different professor for your lecture, which is actually quite interesting, but also means that it's a lot of variation at times. On top of that, we had again the seminars that are more discussion based with a smaller group. I think we had about maybe 15 people in that seminar, which is quite a lot still, but the group was split. I think there were multiple groups that were actually taking Key Question Critical Thought, so they had several groups who were having smaller seminars. And as this course is spread out over both Michaelmas and Hilary, we had seminars in both terms. So in Michaelmas term, I had seminars in week 4, 6 and 8. And in Hilary, I had seminars in weeks 2 and 4. In order to prepare for those seminars, we in general had to read about 3 articles of 20 to 40 pages each. And people would give presentations about those as well. So in one of the weeks, I gave a presentation about one of the articles that we had to read, and I kind of gave an overview of the article and my own interpretation of it. By the end of this module in Hilary term, you will have to write a paper about it, and it's a rather large paper. It's a 5,000 word paper that you have to hand in, which is a lot of work. And in order to prepare for that paper, you can pick one of the topics that was treated prior in the lecture series or in the seminars, and you actually got to have a one-on-one moment with the professor, kind of more of a tutorial style, to talk about your proposal to write your paper on. And it is some kind of thing that you are really supposed to do by yourself and on your own, so you get little feedback on it apart from the one tutorial that you have with your professor. And then you hand the final product in 10th week of Hilary term. As you can tell so far, all of my deadlines that were marked and solid deadlines are all in 10th week. So both in Michaelmas and in Hilary term, I had 10th week deadlines. All of them were on a Thursday at noon. They're probably not going to change that, so they probably will be the same in coming years. But this structure also meant that I had more to submit in Hilary term than I did in Michaelmas, because in Michaelmas I just had my special subject essays, and in Hilary I had my special subject essays and my method option essay. So then for Trinity term, the final term is the term that you will be writing your dissertation. I think honestly that Trinity was probably the least stressful term out of all of the terms, but I really enjoyed it. I got to work on my own project. I was able to sit down with professors and talk about it, and even back in Hilary, I had a meetup with my supervisor, and we kind of started to think about the title and the topic and how to narrow it down and which works I would be looking at. So that in the VAC, I was able to read the books that I wanted to read for my dissertation and kind of pick and choose which ones I actually liked or which ones I probably should just not use, if that makes sense. Final deadline, not in 10th week this time, but in 7th week, I had to hand in my dissertation of Trinity, and I was all done. And that's a bit that will be different for MPhil students, as you will work on kind of a self-guided project. So that term will be different. And also for the MPhil, the second year, you will be writing your dissertation. But the first year is really similar for both the MSt and the MPhils. We had a bunch of MPhil students in our classes. Obviously, I did the MSt. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this clarified some of the MSt MPhil confusion and explained what I actually did, what I studied, and what the structure exactly is, and how it kind of all works out in Oxford. I hope this was very helpful, and thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. Bye.